They say a daughter's first love is her father, but nobody talks about what happens when that love is slowly starved, neglected, and replaced with silence long before she's old enough to understand why. In the Brown family, love was always supposed to be multiplied, never divided, but for one child, love became something conditional, inconsistent, and painfully absent. Truly Brown grew up on camera, but she also grew up invisible. While the world watched Kody Brown preach about family unity and sacred responsibility, one little girl quietly learned what it felt like to be last on the list. And now, as rumors swirl with a force that even Kody cannot control, the unthinkable possibility is taking shape. Truly may have already decided that her father will not walk her down the aisle. Not because she's cruel, not because she's rebellious, but because she remembers everything. We watched Truly arrive into a family already cracking at the seams. She wasn't born into stability or calm. She was born into chaos disguised as faith. Her earliest years were filled with moving trucks, shifting priorities, and a father whose attention was already being pulled elsewhere. While Kody chased new beginnings and new validations, Truly learned how to exist quietly in the background. She became the observer, the child who learned early that speaking too loudly didn't guarantee being heard. And then came the moment that should have changed everything but didn't, the kidney failure scare that nearly took her life. A child slipping into medical crisis while her father was distracted, unfocused, stretched thin by choices he insisted were righteous. That hospital bed became more than a medical emergency. It became a timestamp, a moment Truly may not remember clearly, but one that exists forever in footage, in family memory, and in the collective conscience of the viewers who watched it unfold in horror. As the years passed, Truly grew older, quieter, sharper. While adults argued and alliances shifted, she watched. She watched her mother shrink and then slowly reemerge. She watched favoritism harden into routine. She watched certain children receive protection, consistency, and presence, while she received distance and disappointment. And unlike the adults, Truly never needed confessionals to process it. She internalized it. She learned who felt safe and who felt unpredictable. She learned whose love came with conditions and whose didn't. By the time the family landed in Flagstaff, the fractures were impossible to hide, and Truly was old enough to understand that the chaos around her wasn't normal, it was chosen. Now, standing on the edge of adulthood, Truly is no longer the silent child in the background. She's a young woman with clarity, boundaries, and something Kody Brown has never handled well: autonomy. According to insider whispers circulating through family-adjacent circles, a simple conversation may have exposed just how final her decision already is. A quiet evening in Christine and David's Utah home. A space filled with laughter instead of tension. Safety instead of fear. Photos of weddings past, futures discussed casually, without pressure or expectation. And then Truly allegedly said something so simple, yet so devastating. It sent shockwaves through everyone who understood what it really meant. She said she didn't want any negative energy at her wedding. She said she only wanted people who truly knew her. On the surface, it sounds harmless, almost generic. The kind of thing any teenager might say when imagining a future celebration. But nothing in the Brown family exists on the surface. Every word carries history. Every boundary is a reaction to pain. And when Truly says negative energy, she isn't talking about awkward relatives or minor drama. She's talking about the emotional weight that has followed her for most of her life. She's talking about unpredictability, about favoritism, about a man whose presence doesn't bring comfort, but tension. A man who enters a room and shifts the emotional temperature instantly. A man who made her mother cry, who made her feel small, and who failed to show up when it mattered most. And when she says she only wants people who know her, the implication cuts even deeper. Because knowing someone isn't about sharing DNA. It's about remembering their fears, their interests, their inner world. It's about showing up consistently, not just when cameras are rolling or when appearances need to be maintained. Does Kody Brown know Truly? Does he know what makes her feel safe? Does he know what music she likes, what she reads, what makes her anxious? Or does he only know the version of her that existed when obedience was expected and questions were discouraged? Truly's words suggest that access to her life is no longer automatic. It's earned, and Kody, by his own actions, may have forfeited that privilege years ago. This isn't just about a wedding someday in the distant future. This is about the ultimate evaluation of Kody Brown's fatherhood. In the world he comes from, walking a daughter down the aisle isn't symbolic. It's sacred. It's power. It's validation. It's proof that the patriarch succeeded. The aisle is the final stage where the father gets to present himself as righteous, as deserving, as central. And Kody has always believed that stage belongs to him by default. But Truly no longer lives in that belief system. She left it behind when she left Flagstaff. She left it behind when she watched her mother choose peace over obedience. She left it behind when she realized love shouldn't hurt this much. Kody wants the reward without having done the work. He wants the honor without the intimacy. He wants the photo, the moment, the symbolism, without acknowledging the damage. And for the first time in his life, he may be facing a truth he cannot argue, shout, or spiritualize away. He has no authority here. Truly doesn't need his permission. Christine won't force compliance. And the old rules that once protected his ego no longer apply. The patriarch has reached the one place where his voice doesn't carry power anymore, his daughter's heart. And this is only the beginning of the reckoning. To understand why this rumored decision cuts so deeply into Kody Brown's sense of identity, you have to understand the world that shaped him. In the belief system he was raised in, fatherhood wasn't just emotional, it was hierarchical. The father wasn't simply a caregiver, he was the authority, the gatekeeper, the final word. Walking a daughter down the aisle was never about love alone, it was about legacy. It was a public declaration that he had succeeded as a man, as a leader, as a patriarch. That aisle was supposed to be his victory lap. And for years, Kody lived as if that moment was guaranteed, no matter how fractured the relationships became along the way. He believed biology was enough. Presence was optional. Accountability was negotiable. But Truly does not belong to that old world. She was born into it, yes, but she did not inherit it. She grew up watching the cost of that system play out in real time. She watched her mother swallow pain to keep the peace. She watched loyalty be demanded instead of earned. She watched love become transactional, handed out in portions depending on obedience and proximity. And somewhere along the way, Truly learned the most dangerous lesson a child like her can learn. Silence does not equal safety. Compliance does not equal love. So she stopped trying to fit into a structure that was never designed to protect her. The irony is brutal. Kody spent years justifying his absence by claiming certain children were tender-aged, too young to be without him, too fragile to function without his constant presence. He used those words like a shield, like a moral pass that excused everything else. But Truly was tender-aged too. She was the same age, the same level of vulnerability. And yet, when she needed him most, he wasn't hovering. He wasn't vigilant. He wasn't afraid to leave her side. Instead, she became the child who almost slipped through the cracks entirely. A little girl whose body shut down quietly while the adults around her were distracted by logistics, by schedules, by emotional exhaustion they refused to admit was self-inflicted. That trauma didn't vanish when the cameras cut. It calcified. And as Truly grew older, she gained something Kody never expected her to have: perspective. She can watch the footage now. She can see the contrast. She can see her father panic over being away from Robyn's children for a couple of days, while footage exists of him looking detached and confused during the most terrifying moment of her life. That comparison alone is enough to shatter any illusion of equal love. And once a child sees that imbalance clearly, it can never be unseen. Kody wants to be remembered as the hero of his own story, but the evidence tells a different version. And Truly doesn't need Reddit threads or fan commentary to reach that conclusion. She lived it. She felt it. She absorbed it. When he talks about being disrespected, what he really means is that he is no longer being obeyed. And obedience was the currency he relied on to mask the absence of emotional connection. Now that currency is worthless. If anyone doubts how much Truly notices, all they have to do is look at the weddings that came before her. Because she didn't just grow up in this family, she grew up watching how her father behaved during moments that were supposed to be sacred. Maddie's wedding should have been about a daughter stepping into a new life, but it became another stage for Kody to perform on. His need to be seen, to be praised, to be central overshadowed the moment. He forgot the rings. He made awkward jokes. He focused more on bonding with the groom than on grounding his daughter emotionally. Truly saw that. She saw how quickly her father could turn a milestone into a monologue. Then came Michael T's wedding, where stress replaced joy at every turn. Complaints about food, money, logistics, weather. Nothing was simple. Nothing was peaceful. Instead of being a source of calm, Kody became the storm. He framed the wedding as something happening to him rather than for his daughter. And Truly, who values peace more than praise, learned something important in those moments. She learned that inviting Kody into a sacred space meant inviting chaos with him. But it was Gwen's wedding that sealed everything. This wasn't something Truly watched from a distance or caught up on later. She was there. She saw her father arrive late. She saw the tension hanging off him like a shadow. She saw how little effort he made to connect, to soften, to show up emotionally. She watched him isolate himself, clinging to Robyn, radiating resentment instead of pride. And in that moment, Truly didn't see a misunderstood man. She saw a father who could not, or would not, put his own grievances aside for even one afternoon. That image doesn't fade. It brands itself into memory. So, when Truly talks about negative energy, she isn't being dramatic. She's being precise. She knows exactly what energy Kody brings because she's lived inside it. And she's made a quiet, powerful decision. She doesn't want that energy marking the most important day of her life. This isn't punishment. It's prevention. It's a boundary drawn by someone who understands the cost of not having one. And this is where Kody's fear truly lives. Not in the possibility of exclusion, but in the certainty that he has no leverage. He cannot command her. He cannot guilt her. He cannot spiritually override her choice. The authority he once wielded has evaporated. And for a man whose identity was built on control, that loss is unbearable. He can shout about respect all he wants, but respect that has to be demanded was never real to begin with. As Truly steps further into a life defined by safety and autonomy, the question isn't whether Kody deserves to walk her down the aisle. The question is whether he ever truly walked beside her at all. And waiting just outside this story, quietly reshaping it without force or demand, is a man who represents everything Kody is not. This is where the narrative shifts, because every story about loss creates space for contrast, and in Truly's life that contrast has a name. David Woolley did not enter this family with a sermon, a demand, or a declaration of authority. He arrived quietly, without trying to replace anyone, without insisting on titles or respect. And that alone made him different. In a family long dominated by noise, by power struggles, by men who needed to be the sun around which everyone else orbited, David became something unfamiliar and strangely calming. He didn't pull focus. He didn't compete. He didn't posture. He simply showed up. For Truly, that difference was not subtle. It was seismic. She had spent her childhood navigating unpredictability, learning when to speak and when to stay silent, sensing moods before they erupted. With David, that vigilance faded. The air changed. There was no tension to manage, no emotional landmines to avoid. He treated her not as a possession, not as a symbol of obedience, but as a person. Someone with opinions, boundaries, and a developing sense of self. That kind of respect lands deeply with a child who grew up feeling overlooked. The contrast between David and Kody is almost cinematic in its symbolism. Kody is loud where David is quiet. Kody demands attention. David commands respect without asking for it. Kody obsesses over how he is perceived. David seems unconcerned with optics entirely. One man needs a camera to feel validated. The other does not. And Truly, who has lived under the constant awareness of being watched, understands the difference better than anyone. She knows the cost of performative love. She knows how empty it feels. Nothing illustrates this shift more clearly than the moment fans still talk about in hushed disbelief, the nacho moment. Years ago, Kody publicly admitted that watching Christine eat nachos disgusted him. Not annoyed him, disgusted him. It was a casual cruelty, offered without shame, that revealed how easily he dehumanized the woman who gave him children. Truly grew up with that knowledge, even if she didn't hear the words at the time. She felt the aftermath. She felt the way shame seeped into the household, the way joy became something to apologize for. Fast forward to David Woolley, sitting beside Christine, eating nachos with her, smiling at her like she is a treasure, not a burden. That moment wasn't staged for Truly's benefit, but it reached her all the same. It sent a message louder than any lecture ever could. Love does not humiliate. Love does not withhold. Love does not make you smaller. Truly saw her mother valued openly, proudly, without condition. And when a man respects the mother, the children feel safer too. That safety ripples outward. David doesn't speak over Truly. He listens. He doesn't treat her like a fragile prop or a problem to manage. He treats her like a young woman whose thoughts matter. Where Kody still clings to the concept of tender-aged children as a tool of control, David understands growth. He allows it, encourages it. Truly isn't surviving in his presence. She's thriving. And that distinction is everything. So when rumors surface that Truly may want David to walk her down the aisle, it isn't about erasing Kody. It's about honoring the man who showed up without being asked. The man who filled the space Kody abandoned without resentment or competition. From Truly's perspective, this isn't replacement. It's alignment. She's choosing the energy that made her feel whole, not the one that made her feel anxious. Imagine the day itself. No shouting. No tension. No passive-aggressive commentary disguised as concern. David would stand beside Christine, proud but not possessive, present but not performative. He wouldn't scan the room for cameras. He wouldn't make the moment about himself. He wouldn't complain about costs or logistics or symbolism. He would simply walk, steady and calm, beside a young woman he helped raise into someone confident enough to choose peace over obligation. And then there's the unspoken possibility, the one that unsettles Kody even more than being replaced. Truly may choose to walk alone. No man at her side. No transfer of authority. No symbolic handoff. Just a young woman stepping forward under her own power, owing nothing to anyone who didn't earn a place there. That possibility represents the complete collapse of the world Kody believes in. It means the patriarchy he built his identity on is not only rejected, but irrelevant. If that happens, Kody won't see empowerment. He'll see betrayal. And as history has shown us time and time again, Kody Brown does not process rejection quietly. He reframes it. He weaponizes it. He looks for someone to blame. And the narrative he will cling to is already forming. Christine manipulated her. David replaced me. My daughter was taken from me. He will call it alienation. He will call it disrespect. He will call it injustice. Anything but consequence. But the truth is far simpler and far more damning. Truly didn't leave her father. He left her, piece by piece, year by year, moment by moment. And now, faced with a milestone that demands emotional honesty, she is choosing not to reopen wounds she worked so hard to heal. This isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. And while Kody spirals internally, another figure is preparing to step into the familiar role she has perfected over the years, the victim. If Kody's reaction to this rumored decision is predictable, then Robyn's is inevitable. No major emotional earthquake in the Brown family has ever occurred without her positioning herself at the center of the fallout. And this moment, one that threatens Kody's final symbolic claim to power, would be no exception. If Kody is excluded from walking truly down the aisle, or worse, excluded from the wedding entirely, the response will not be quiet reflection. It will be narrative warfare. Robyn will not frame this as truly protecting her peace. She will frame it as truly attacking the family. The strategy is familiar. Tears without accountability. concern without introspection. Robyn will speak not for Truly, but over her. She will shift the focus away from Kody's behavior and onto her own children, invoking Solomon and Ariella as emotional shields. She will suggest that excluding Kody means excluding them, turning Truly's boundary into an act of cruelty against tender-aged siblings. The implication will be clear. Truly is selfish. Truly is divisive. Truly is ungrateful. It is a masterclass in deflection, and the audience has seen it before. But this time, something is different. The fans are not confused. They are not divided. The court of public opinion has already ruled, and the verdict is brutal. Viewers who watch Truly grow up on screen feel protective of her in a way they never felt toward the adults. They remember the hospital footage. They remember the neglect. They remember Kody's selective parenting and Robyn's quiet benefits from it. And they're done pretending this is a misunderstanding. This isn't a family feud. It's an accountability moment. Online, the sentiment is overwhelming. People aren't asking why Truly would do this. They're asking why it took so long. They're pointing out that biology is not a free pass to intimacy. That fatherhood is a verb, not a title. That love does not entitle you to the most important moments of someone's life if you failed to show up for the ordinary ones. Truly's rumored decision has become symbolic of something much larger than one wedding. It represents a generational refusal to inherit trauma disguised as tradition. And that is what terrifies Kody the most. Not exclusion, but exposure. Because if Truly walks down that aisle without him, whether with David or alone, it will mark the official end of the story he's been telling himself for decades. The story where he is the misunderstood patriarch. The story where his sacrifices went unappreciated. The story where his authority was stolen rather than forfeited. That aisle will tell the truth without saying a word. It will reveal that love cannot be demanded, only earned. If David Woolley stands beside Truly, it will cement his role not as a replacement, but as proof. Proof that a man doesn't need to dominate to lead. Proof that stability is louder than control. Proof that showing up consistently matters more than grand declarations. And if Truly chooses to walk alone, the message will be even more powerful. It will say that she owes no man a symbolic handoff. That her life is hers. That her future is not a transaction. This moment, real or rumored, has already reshaped the legacy of the Brown family. Kody started this journey believing that love multiplied would make him larger. Instead, it fractured him. He divided his attention so completely that there was nothing left for the child who needed him most. Truly survived that fracture. She learned from it. And now she stands as living evidence that the system he defended failed. Truly is not acting out. She is acting with clarity. She is choosing peace over performance, safety over symbolism, truth over tradition. She is not punishing her father. She is protecting herself. And in doing so, she has become the final report card on Kody Brown's fatherhood. Not written in anger, but in boundaries. If this decision becomes reality, Kody will be left exactly where his choices have led him. In a house filled with people who depend on him, but without the respect he once assumed was permanent. He will claim victimhood. He will rewrite history. He will insist he was robbed. But the world will see something else entirely. A man facing the consequences of years of emotional absence. A patriarch discovering that power means nothing without connection. Truly represents the future Kody never planned for. A generation that asks questions. A generation that refuses to carry pain just to make others comfortable. A generation that understands love should feel safe. And whether she walks down that aisle with David Woolley, alone, or with someone entirely unexpected, the truth remains the same. Kody Brown will not be holding the pen. Truly is writing her own ending. And in that ending,